Delta, a quick game of luck, strategy, and sabotage. If there are only 2 players, remove the 2 reverse cards from the deck, shuffle the deck, and deal 8 cards to each player. You may look at your own cards. Place the remainder of the deck within easy reach of all players, and leave space next to it to start the discard pile. The game is played across multiple rounds. To begin the first round, the dealer selects 1 card from their hand to play and places it on the discard pile. Now it's the next player's turn, and they have 2 options. They may either play 1 card that is strictly higher than the top card of the discard pile. In this case, any card higher than a 2. Let's assume they choose this option and play a 5. Now it's the next player's turn. The other option players have is to play a card that is exactly 1 less than the top card of the discard pile. Let's assume the player has a 4 and chooses to play it. The special thing about this option is that you can continue to play cards, as long as each card is exactly 1 less than the previous card. Now it's the next player's turn, and they have the same 2 options. Play continues in this manner until a player cannot play any cards. For example, this player cannot play any of their cards onto the 5. When this happens, the round ends, and that player must draw cards to determine how many cards the player must draw. Take the top 2 cards of the discard pile, and take the difference between the larger number and the smaller number. In this case, it's just 1. So the player must draw 1 card into their hand. If there aren't enough cards left in the draw pile, shuffle the discard pile back into it before drawing. Otherwise, just set the discard pile off to the side to be shuffled back in later. Then the player draws the required number of cards. Now a new round begins, and the player who drew cards gets to start it by playing a single card from their hand. Then it's the next player's turn, and play continues as before. There is one crucial detail about drawing cards. If you can't play a card, and the number of cards you need to draw, plus the number of cards in your hand ever exceeds 8, then you're out of the game. Too bad for you. The last player who played a card gets to start the next round. There are 2 ways to win the game. Either be the last player remaining after all others have been eliminated, or be the first player to get rid of all your cards. In terms of strategy, playing low potentially lets you shed more cards, but makes it easier for the next player to play a card, whereas a high card can possibly set up the next player's downfall, but you only get to shed 1 card. By the way, you may have noticed some special cards in the deck. A wild card can take on any of the numbers listed vertically. Just call out the number you're choosing when you play it. A pass card skips your turn and passes play to the next player. A reverse card also skips your turn, but reverses the direction of play, sending it back to the previous player. These cards can be played at any time, and are placed on the bottom of the discard pile, so that the top card remains the same. Lastly, the bottom of the discard pile, or the table, is considered 0. So if there is only 1 card, and you can't play a card, you must draw cards equal to the number shown. The same is true if there are only 2 cards and the bottom one is a pass or reverse. With only 2 players, games can go quick, so consider playing best 2 out of 3